Hey, WokeNFree Nation. Newsly is an audio app for iOS and Android. It picks up web articles about the most trending topics on the web at any given moment and reads them to you in a natural human voice.
For the first time in the history of the internet, the entire web becomes listenable. Browse articles from topics you choose and start playing. Stop scrolling, start listening.
You can follow any topic as specific as you like, from sports, science to Bitcoin, or even one of your favorite celebrities. It will find you the latest articles and read them to you aloud.
And they have podcasts as well. Explore trending podcasts from over 50 countries. Our podcast, WokeNFree, is there too.
Now let's get into the episode. Hi, this is Natasha.
And Khalil.
We are the co-hosts of
WokeNFree.
Thank you for tuning in to our 296th episode of WokeNFree. If you've been tuning in every week for WokeNFree Wednesday, you know that WokeNFree is all about being real and honest with each other and you. We talk about everything and anything important to us, you, the world, and nothing is off the table. Now, this week we are discussing and asking the following question. Should we judge others? There's a lot to mull over there, but before we get into the episode, a couple of things to go over. First, have you not only gone to WokeNFree.com to listen to this episode, but have you downloaded it through the Podbean app? If not, please do so immediately, because if you get the app, then you can put in your comments, and that's really where we can have some real interesting WokeNFree conversation. So please go and do that. Now, if you listen to podcasts on a device where you can't get another app like the Podbean app, that's really sad, but fret not. What you can do to still support the show is you can go to WokeNFree.com, you can go in the Listen tab, and then pick your platform of choice where you're going to follow and subscribe to the show. So we're on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, Google Play. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Spotify. It's a WokeNFree world. So where most podcasts are consumed, you'll find the show. Make sure you do that. On WokeNFree.com as well, through the Podbean app, you're able to click to subscribe and follow the show through the Podbean platform. And then on social, we would love for you to engage with us and share your thoughts on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Pinterest, and LinkedIn. You'll find us at WokeNFree. And then lastly, if you have 90 seconds, which is more of a statement, less of a question, we'd love for you to review the show. So how do you do that? Go to WokeNFree.com, go on the Listen tab, and then pick your platform of choice where you'd like to review and share how this show is feeding into you. Now, I'm going to kick it to you, Khalil.
That's great. And before we start the conversation, why don't we share a little bit about ourselves? This week, we are asking, would you rather grub Big Macs or Quarter Pounders?
I'm sorry, grub or grab?
It's grub, I think.
I don't know what that word is, so you have to define what that means for me.
I mean, I'm thinking it means just to eat it.
Oh, okay.
Like it's just a term. I haven't heard it used. I mean, I guess I might have heard it used that way, but obviously, this isn't a question that I just came up with, right?
Mm-hmm.
I saw this question written that way.
So instead of just simply saying which would you rather eat?
Okay. Yeah, but I mean, grub sounds better. It sounds different.
Just to be clear,
grub is food, though. I know that.
Quarter pounders. Is there anything special about these quarter pounders, or it's just a regular quarter pounder burger?
Well, so we're talking about, just in case people don't know, this is McDonald's hamburgers. So the Big Macs has the 2 patties with the 3 buns. Mm-hmm. The quarter pounder just has 2 buns. But they're basically the same, and I think it doesn't have the Thousand Island.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So the only difference between the Quarter Pounder and the Big Mac is Thousand Island and that 3rd bun in the middle.
Okay. Well,
so
my
that's the best way to look at it.
Would be then the Big Mac, because I really like the Thousand Island dressing and the lettuce, and you can ask to have
Quarter Pounder has that lettuce. Everything else is the same. Just the 2 things they're missing.
Yeah, I guess that Thousand Island dressing is pretty cool. So I'll take that.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with you. I would go with the Big Mac for the Thousand Island. The middle, I don't know if the middle's needed or not. I guess it's more of a filler, but I don't know. Big Mac seemed like a classic McDonald's sandwich, so I definitely have to go with that. I used to get quarter pounders, but once you have the Big Mac, you can't go back. So
exactly.
That's why I just went with that. And I'm not one to judge if you like Quarter Pounders over Big Mac. But we've got to ask the question, should we judge others?
Yeah, so when talking recently in another episode, you and I were going back and forth, and this is how this really stemmed for us to be able to have a whole separate conversation around this, just because I strongly believe that we as a society are just doing the most when it comes to judgment of others and constantly putting ourselves and our decisions and coming from a perspective of me, and what I would do and transposing that onto others. And I think that's really unfair because the world is not filled with a million versions of yourself. It is filled with billions of versions of different people. And we have to respect that. And to be honest, I think that we shouldn't judge people because A, no one is perfect, and no one is in some type of superior position in their life where they could judge others and say, like, this is the better thing, because it's only going to be self-centric. It's only going to come from the perspective of what they would do or what they think or what they've been exposed to then inform whatever the judgment is needed upon. So again, it's all like centric around just other behavior or other people, and so it seems inappropriate to be judging.
You think it's inappropriate?
Others. It just seems it's like no one is the arbiter of goodness and righteousness in this life. If all that you are is a reflection of what you've come from, so then I'm judging what I'm used to. I'm not judging from originality, or I'm not judging from a space of truth. I'm judging from what I know. And that is not, and I just don't think that that's an appropriate space.
But you don't think you can judge from a space of truth? I mean, what happens when...
Well, it's your version of truth, and it's what you would constitute as truth, but it's not actual truth, right? Because all of our life is a perception of what we want it to be and what it could be. Doesn't mean it is. It's
so when you get the guilty verdict from the judge that the parking ticket is valid, that's
the
not...
guilty verdict? You're conflating two different... Oh God, mercy. So let's try that one again.
Yeah.
Try a different legal scenario if you want to go that route, and I would not recommend it, but that's your choice.
But I'm going the same route. I'm saying the parking ticket came back and it said guilty. So
okay, so someone is seen as creating an offense. That then what? What is the question?
The question is, if there wasn't a judge there, then what would happen? Then people wouldn't pay their parking tickets? I'm just saying, like, see how things can go if you don't have judges, then what happens?
So we're not talking about that type of judgment.
Oh, okay,
but what we could be is, like, I mean, generally, like, you know, you bring up an interesting point, right? How many of our legal scenarios have falsely accused and falsely condemned and falsely put people into situations where they've lost their life, they've lost their time, their dignity because of false judgments and false conclusions.
And what about people judging? So in a good example, I forgot the actor's name, but people jumping to conclusions of an assault or something of a popular celebrity.
Exactly.
When in fact they haven't gone to court.
Exactly.
There hasn't been any. There's only been an accusation at the time.
The judgment of public opinion.
Yeah, and
which condemns people in and of itself sometimes.
And is that right that movie studios can drop these celebrities even though there is no conviction?
Jonathan Majors. Yeah,
there you go. That was what I was thinking.
Yeah, where there's people coming all out of the woodwork saying,
because isn't that about judgment?
Well, that's what I'm saying. So it's interesting. I think there's a space around judgment from, like, hey, I'm me living my life judging everyone else. And then there is, like you're saying, there's legal system judgment. Then there's also
corporate judgment.
There's corporate judgment, like news, media. So there's all different forms, and either way.
And you think they're all should be less, except for the legal one. There should be more of that.
Well, no, even legal. I think that we can go about. We could. I mean, it would be really hard if we would really need, like, that Minority Report situation, right, where you have some type of supernatural or some way that couldn't be tampered with by other forms to be able to identify what happened in time, and that way we aren't falsely accusing people, but that there's an actual some type of record that is developed, but I don't know if that's ever going to be possible in our society.
Because you say you don't want it to be tampered with too, so that's the problem.
That way I want to make sure the right person who committed this incident, right? Like, but again, when we commit crime, are we looking at how to treat the situation the best way? Because I think a lot of it is very punitive, and is that, I mean, after all these years of living on this earth, is that really the best way to look at it? I know that
it's easiest. Not the best, though. It's just straightforward, right?
Because how are we preventing that future crime? How are we also changing mental behavior?
You hope that the punishment deters people.
Punitive behavior. Like, it's the only... punitive treatment of crime. Like... Yeah,
you just hope it's a deterrence. That's all it's about. Messy. But the thing is, I think judgment is... sometimes it's a good thing. I mean, I know you want to reduce it, but I think it can help in cases where people don't know how they look, so... What if someone is on the bleeding edge of technology and they're wearing something that doesn't necessarily agree with the modern fashion world? Should somebody tell them that, hey, that's a fashion faux pas, you shouldn't have that tech on? Or should they just let them, live their best life and not blend in? I mean, I don't know. Do you just let people just go about their business and don't tell them how they look?
Well, is there like a two-step process maybe that could happen here? Because based on that situation, informing someone and judging someone are two separate things, right? If you're informing someone, say, hey, there's a bird nest on your head.
The bird nest gives you the power to see the future.
So if someone informs you that there's a bird's nest on your head, that is different than someone coming up to you and saying, I really don't think you should be wearing a bird's nest on your head.
Oh, it's different?
Because what is information and what is a judgment, right? Because now you've taken in the information, you've seen the bird's nest, and now you're saying yes or no to this or
so you're just going to comment that it's there and not tell them, because then they could be like, yeah, I know I'm wearing this. I mean, it has a weight to it.
I mean, again, I think people really do go out of their way to tell people. Someone could look at you like, why are you telling me the truth? Yeah, people already are aware of that. Now, what you can do is you may ask, like, hey, that's, a little bit different. I haven't seen this.
See, that I would say you should say, hey, where can I get one of those nifty features you have on your head?
That's in nature?
Exactly, yeah. Because it might be in nature, but it might be offered at a local store. You don't know. It might be the new thing to get people in the pet
Trader
stores.
Joe's, right? Yeah.
it could be that, yeah. It could be in value or superstores. You can find certain things like that.
I think that there's a space between information sharing before judgment. Like, I don't think it's always that. Just because you see something, whether it's stalking, it's different, it's odd, however you want to label it, it takes another step to see the information, consume it, and then act upon it.
So you know what? It's even another example was like, what if you go to a place where you're supposed to cover up your hair or something, and they're not. Yep. So I mean, let's say we're in a place of no judgment. You can
inform. This is the rule, right? Like, but instead of, because there's a diffence between coming
you can't judge them and say, you're
like, you shouldn't be walking around.
You should be ashamed of yourself.
Yeah, see, that's different than saying, hey, Mr., Miss, they, however they want to be informed or called by, just letting you know this is an area that requires covering up your hair is different than saying, how dare you walk outside without wearing.
You can't just call them a heathen kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, is that the best way to accomplish whatever you're accomplishing by communicating with that person, and or how is that person going to receive that information? Isn't it much easier to receive knowledge from an information share perspective than a judgment perspective? Like, what are we trying to accomplish with communication if we're judging? Because you're only going to get people to shut down, to get offended, to feel hurt. I mean, it's very unlikely to judge someone and make them feel good at the end of that.
I don't think that's the idea of judging others. I think I think people judge others because they want to see a change in them. But it can come off.
Exactly.
It definitely can come off negative.
Yeah.
The judgment. It definitely can. Why do you think we judge others?
I think it comes down to a couple of things. First, it's, as you said, very normalized in our society. to judge, it's like, looking at the back of your hand, it's super common. And it's like, why wouldn't I judge you? I'm in a position of whatever, fill in the blank, to be able to do that. Next, I think it's something that we can rationalize doing as you jump to your legal scenarios.
Yeah,
right?
so that's
people can
one case,
justify the fact that we have systems based off around judgment to rationalize the fact that this is a common practice that one needs to engage in. But there are a lot of common practices that have been commonized because we want them to be. It doesn't mean that they should or need to be in our society, but we choose them to be. So in our human minds and psychology, because we want it to be, we'll come up with a million different reasons why it should be that case. Doesn't mean that it has to be. Just we're choosing to make it that way. Also, it's super comfortable to just kind of come out the bed or even stay in bed and judge people. I mean, you can just go at it and laugh away at others and make fun of others.
But see, you're coming from it. There could be good judgment too. You can be like, I agree with that decision, right?
It can be. It could be an agreement. The judgment doesn't have to be negative. A lot of times there is a lot of negative.
Judging is positive.
Judgment. Yeah.
Like you said that you're making the right choice with how you're raising your child. Someone could say that and they agree. So, I mean, in that case,
that's possible. But there's also, as you know, a lot of negativeness that comes from.
You're more likely to hear the negative judgment, and then like positive judgment. Usually that stays within the mind. Like, so somebody may not comment on that. They don't feel the need to express that.
Yeah, I think it's rarer to walk down the street and have people be like, girl, I love that look, girl. You are killing it, girl. Love that car. It's more like, ooh, that person in that bird's nest, right? Like, and it's like,
so, they should
go into all different types.
They should say, like, what I told you is, where did you cop that from?
Exactly.
That would be a better question than to say that.
I'll let you lead on that one then.
Oh, all right. Well, I mean, it's just something you do.
Also, to your earlier point, I think that, there is a suggestion or demand even of change behavior. So that's why people judge people. Because, if you go around and you're like, oh, bless your heart, and you're judging people, you're probably trying to imply that they need to do something different. And so you are trying to influence the behaviors of others. Sometimes people feel repressed and unable to be their own true self. So the best way that they can handle and process that is to shame and disgrace others because they refuse to be brave enough to live their own truth. Right? Like for those people who are, and I know this is going to be hard for folks, but for folks who have been vehemently and you've seen this in television and media, homophobic. And they ended up being gay, part of the homosexual community as well. I don't know if you remember, but there was a lot of content I would watch about people saying all these really anti-gay things. It was hideous, really horrible. And in fact, they were just so, I guess, incapable of accepting their own reality and their own truth and loving who they are on this earth. And instead just chose to funnel that frustration into anger and hate and judgment of others. Really challenging. And then also, it's probably really scary, the idea of not being able to judge. I think that, whether it's positive or negative, I think that the idea of living life judgment-free is just too, it just probably feels like walking off a cliff. So I think that people would rather take the devil you know versus the devil you don't. And so I feel like they want to take the devil they know, which is to judge. And then lastly, I think we're addicted to it. I think, social media, we have a lot of different aspects of our society and media, legalized systems in place that are based off of judging. So
that's the whole purpose of society. And social media, right? Is to hear the judgments and opinions of others. That's why they have comments.
But again, that's how we framed it. But it didn't have to be this. For instance, Facebook was designed to be a community to connect with your friends and family around common interests, common background. It was not a space to say, hey, because you and I went to the same high school, I have a right to judge every picture you're doing and what you're.
But it has the comments in there because what's the purpose of the comment? It is a judgment and it could be good or bad.
Again, that's a rationalization. It could be a space to connect. It doesn't
the comment
have to
I'm
be
talking about, the comment section.
You could say, that's great that you were in Ibiza. I would love to go there. It doesn't have to be like, girl, why are you wearing that bathing suit? Oh, you look so big in that.
But it doesn't have to be that. But it could also be, I love that bathing suit on you. It really is flattering.
It could be. See? It could be, but it doesn't have to be.
You can still have judgment.
It could be a space of connection. It doesn't have to be a space of judgment.
It could be a space for information too.
Exactly. Did you know about this? A lot of people share their information to me in their comments. I mean,
informative ones are the best. Those are the best comments. That's what I would think.
Those, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned some good reasons that people judge others. I agree with some of those. I think that definitely is, people like to categorize and box things off. That's definitely in there. Mm-hmm. And I thought of two other things after hearing your points. One is, I think people, when they judge others, it makes them feel important, or it makes them feel even smart.
That's true.
So it's like you'll see somebody on TV and maybe they're working on a new fuel for a rocket, and you'll be like, I mean, that's easy stuff. They should be able to get to Mars by now. I can do that if I actually focused on it. Like, there's people that are armchair judges and they just know it all and they know all the answers, and
not
it makes
going anywhere in life.
It makes them feel really smart.
Arbiter of nothing.
Yeah, they haven't tried it in their life, but they just see something and they're like, I've seen a lot of movies. I know how this stuff works.
Yeah.
And the judgment just gives them that self-importance kind of thing.
Because they feel so little on the inside, right? So they have to transfer.
Maybe they feel little, but I don't know. Yeah. Maybe it's just...
Or they could be delusional. And
be delusional, right? They just see it.
I love how you could do that when in reality you're doing nothing. So...
Because everybody wants to see themselves as valuable, so that's one way that people can show them.
Everyone wants to see themselves as valuable, not that they actually are.
Exactly.
Just drawing that connection for folks who don't know you as long as I do.
That's a true statement, but
as said by Khalil Nurse, yes.
I guess again,
I'm not declaring the value.
You can either confirm or deny that statement.
I would vehemently disagree. I would not. I don't share that belief that you share there.
That people may or may not add value to society.
I think everyone has. I believe everyone has value in some way or form.
No. The specific question is: are they a value add to society? That's the question.
Oh, yeah, I would say yes, because
you said everybody is a value add.
Yeah, because a value add also can be within the negative space, because unless you have contrast, you don't appreciate positiveness, and also you don't have change behavior because of negative.
Yeah, no,
that's what I'm saying.
You have to have
I would say there's value add for everyone. Yeah.
But you're trying to say there's a value in negative?
I mean, there is a value.
If I go that way, then I wouldn't say that.
Maybe you could be persuaded.
That's the only way I would agree upon with you. But if I'm looking at just positives or negative, though, that's what I'm thinking when I think of valuable.
I would say there's a positive in the negative, because otherwise you wouldn't appreciate the positive as much, right? So if everyone was a thief, you wouldn't think about it.
And I tell you already, there could be, so in my mind, there could be too much value added. So that's why you need some value attracted. So I think it's a balance. What I'm saying.
There's a purpose. There's a purpose.
I'm not saying that I didn't say purposeless. No, I didn't say any of that. I just said.
Well, we know where you would stand on that too.
Well, that's a deeper philosophical question, right? That's something else, but value. People want to be valuable, though. They want to show that, even if they're only validating it in their own mind and it's not being communicated with others, because you can just be watching TV or I don't know, reading a book and saying, "Man, these people just don't. They just don't know what they're doing. If only I got into this, I would really, change it up for them."
Yep.
But it's all in their head. So that's another thing that people like to judge. And I'm almost forgetting what my other point was, but I think, I said it's about value add. The
feeling important.
There was one other thing
and then
that
also
I came up with.
That you think,
that you haven't mentioned yet.
Well, psychologically, how humans think naturally, that we put things into boxes. So do you think it's actually just innate as a part of our experience that we can't live with?
But that we can't.
I said it's normalized and rationalized. I don't know. I didn't declare it as psychologically necessary for life. Like, are you?
I think it. I didn't. I thought you already mentioned that. I did. I was going to mention that it's a part of human nature to judge, and that's just how our brains work. Is that we like to put things, but we
classify. Are you saying that classification is the same as judgment then?
Oh, well, yeah, that's what I was. Okay. I thought you were pointing to that, but you're saying you're not.
I think there's some slight nuances. Okay, it just depends on how you want to, split hairs.
But yeah, that was definitely a point that I thought of, And I don't know. I forgot the other point that I was thinking of. Now
it might come to you later.
It escaped me. But there was another reason that people judge that I think needed to be mentioned.
Is it because it's fun?
They do it for fun.
I think some people enjoy like judgment of others, right? Like the kind of like a quick example is when we watch those like red carpet events on various TV show networks. E is coming to mind for one, or the Grammys of like TV shows or Academy Awards, right? The who's the winner and who is. I think there's a lot of fun in figuring out who's the winner, who's the best, who's the most valuable. It's very interesting psychologically, and that we do this to ourselves every single year.
Which part?
The judging, the classification, the sharing of the judgment. I mean, oh my gosh, what is she wearing and who did he show up with?
I think that's why some reality shows are popular, because people get to judge other people's lives.
Exactly.
So that's definitely a point.
Now, I guess as we make it on through, if the other point comes to, you'll be able to raise it. But either way, what would you say are the pros and cons of judging others then?
I think the first pro is that judgment helps people know their role. So sometimes people get out of pocket and they think that they can go above the call of duty when they're supposed to just do their one service role. So if you judge them, then they'll know to get back in line and not try it again.
Look at you throwing in various jargon. Out of pocket, Call of Duty. What the heck?
Well, no.
You want everyone to understand what you're saying.
So yeah, it's like when if you're at a dog park and a Karen comes up to you like, this is not the dog park area.
Again, Karen. A disrespectful person.
but specifically a Karen, though, who thinks they know the law and they're just completely, they're off basis, though, and they don't got it quite right.
Yes, sir.
The Karen is, because I think of a Karen as a snitch who doesn't they don't have all the details.
Here you go, you just dropped it, you just try to wrap
okay, as an informant who doesn't have all the details in order. That's what I think of a Karen as.
An uninformed informant.
Yeah.
That sounds like a really sad situation.
That's what I think whenever I think of a Karen, though.
An uninformed
who has nothing better to do with their time.
So like a lost agent or something.
Yeah, something like that. So but I'm saying that when the judgment comes along, there's people that do more than they should be doing. They
doing the most. Yep.
Yeah, so judgment can put them back in line. It can. Another thing is it's actually a way for people to bond over similar ideas. So people can come together and be, these pervasive judges of a person or an idea.
So Salem witch trials, you were thinking.
Yeah, I mean, that could be one.
Burn the witch, burner, yeah.
Exactly, that can be one. It could be, but it could be political. Yeah. It could be a political bond too when you judge
the
things.
The Dems or the Republicans.
Yeah, see, like that. That's another way you can bond over good things.
Yes,
you can bond over conservatism.
Wonderful. Absolutely.
It's something to bond. It's literally thing.
Communism. Yep, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, communism is less judgy than a lot of these other ideas, but yeah, it could be that.
Or, certain religious sects and things like that.
Yeah, see, but it's a way to bond, though. I mean, I'm just saying that it's
a reality of
that's
life
a pro.
For sure, yeah.
Another one is that it can, I mean, we kind of, I don't know if we touch on it, but it points out areas of improvement for people, because sometimes people just don't know that something is not working out for them, right? What if somebody doesn't know there's pepper in their teeth? You can judge them and say, pepper in your teeth is not,
that's nice.
Yeah, pepper in your teeth it's not a good look for you.
Well, like I said, I think there's a difference between
and then you could inform them too, I guess.
Information share versus.
But what if they think it's a good look though too, and it's not?
Think about this: someone says, like, "Hey, Khalil, there's salt or there's black pepper in your teeth," versus, "Oh my gosh, you look ridiculous." There's like.
But you don't have to say it like that. You could say, "In this society, we don't walk around with stuff in our teeth."
Okay, I mean, yes, I would consider that a judgmental statement.
It's still judgy because it's like, well, some people do it. It's not a big deal.
That's like real left field, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the best example, but it is an example.
To speak to somebody.
Or it can be, what it can be? Well, here's a good one. Here's a good one. I just thought of this, and this is very important, and it might piss some people off. It's important. Please do not warm up seafood in the office. That's a judgy thing. because the smell lingers. So please do not do that.
Is that that's interesting. You're saying the statement in and of itself is a judgy thing to say, or is it?
Well, I was saying that
like
way.
An instruction, right? But if you're like, if you warm up seafood in the office, it will stink, and
people don't want to smell your food. I mean, that's what they're really thinking. They may not say it in that manner, but see that. So here's what's funny, because what people do, and I guess that's how you can get away with it. They'll make a judgment call in their mind, but they'll know how to express it as just a piece of information.
Yeah.
So they'll know, like, all right, fish stinks up the office, so we're just going to tell people, don't warm up your seafood here. Take your seafood elsewhere, like home.
Don't warm up your seafood.
It's important. It's an important fact.
Oh, your foolishness.
It's really this is really important.
Keep your seafood to yourself.
This could be like a whole PSA on this, because people need to know. Never.
You are a hot mess. And you know where you get that from.
If there's one thing no, but it's a true statement too, and people have said it and they've whispered it.
But I've never in my life, until I met you and
you didn't know.
Individuals.
Well, you know why some people don't say the quiet. I say the quiet part out loud. That's all.
You say the quiet part out loud. That's what we should have called this episode.
I like that phrase.
Yeah.
Yes, I've been able to say that phrase. I've been waiting for this moment. I've been waiting for a moment like this.
You've been waiting your whole life.
Some people wait a lifetime.
Okay, Karen.
It's very important. Okay. So then the last thing is, you can actually, I've mentioned it before, but you can voice your positive agreement to help affirm somebody. So you can tell them you're a great swimmer. You should go swim out in the ocean. Like that. You could say, I agree with your swimming technique. Go and swim in the ocean.
Drown, yeah.
Even if there's sharks there, you're a great swimmer. So don't worry. You can tell them stuff like that.
Okay. Yep.
You see how you can empower people?
Yep.
So that's what, or you can even empower them and say, you know how to keep your limbs within the cage when you go deep sea diving, so don't worry about the sharks. So see how that can help people.
You have real problems.
It can really give them empowerment
for this moment. Yep.
So you can definitely empower people through judgment.
I bet you can.
So that's just something to think about. Now the cons are, you can create a false idea or narrative around a person. So judging somebody, usually you're going off of limited information.
Yep.
So you definitely could come up with an idea that's totally off basis, and then now this is the idea. And then if you go and even comment or tell other people of your judgment, even if you don't tell the person, that can cause some issues later. So it's definitely, that's harmful. The next thing, and this is probably the biggest thing that happens, is that it fosters stereotypes. Because people will judge people just, again, based off of limited information and based off just things that have been said in the past, even though it's not true. It's just a statement that can be said about anybody, right?
Yep.
That happens. And another thing is that it's, your judgment is technically, it's just unsubstantiated opinions. It's not based on really facts, right? It's kind of emotional based. So should you be putting that out there? Just these emotional ideas that don't have any basis on facts? Should you? That's a con in my mind. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I would say pros that come to mind for me would be providing clarity to people, into something you've said earlier. As human beings, we have to make decisions based on facts, but also based on what we're feeling to be safe and to also make good decisions, personal decisions, career decisions, business decisions. And a part of that decision-making process involves making judgment calls. And whether it's a positive or negative judgment, nonetheless, a judgment typically could be made to be able to further your goals, keep you safe, empower you to connect, right? There's all these different pathways you can go about, that you can embark upon. So there's a positive that can lead from that. Then also, it can help you have understanding of navigating life situations, because if you have repeated experiences, then you can make a judgment call on whether you like those types of experiences, whether you like this type of behavior, and then you can decide whether these are people you want to be around, whether this is situations you want to entertain in your life. And so again, whether it's connected to the idea of safety or connected to the idea of promise or opportunity, however, whatever the concept that makes sense for you, that could be a positive, because it can help you navigate this world we call life. A con would be to something you said as well. We could unfortunately make really wrong or harmful assumptions about others and then cut people out of our lives because we've made this judgment of, well, I don't associate with this. And well, to your point, well, you don't necessarily have the full knowledge bank or knowledge dump of what this is, but we're just automatically saying I'm not about that life. Okay, well, you don't know what that life is. So that's unfortunately really cutting off stuff that you may actually benefit from. Also, your judgment can get in the way of you being able to pursue opportunities or being able to go and connect with people. So a simple example is, there's a lot of narrative I've seen around women should never go up to a guy and ask him out, right? That's just they make a judgment around that behavior of women. And, in my mind, I have always found that to be very sad, because you could essentially be choosing to walk away from a life partner if you don't take the chutzpah and go and talk to a person. And I think there are some supportive stats that demonstrate that women who have done that have ended up in some, long-standing positive relationships. I know it doesn't work out all the time, but it's not a behavior that you automatically should be saying.
It's not like a net negative. It's not like if you do this, you're never going to have a relationship.
Yeah,
that's
and
not
there's
true
some
statement.
people that say that if you do this, you're setting yourself up for a negative relationship, and I think that that's just a false narrative. So again, let's not make these judgment calls and say I will never do this when it's like, well, that may change the whole direction of your life. So be open, and then it can create harm. It can create harm with the other people that you're making these judgment calls and maybe speaking that into existence, sharing that with the world, right? And that can get into the political space. It could get into regulatory spaces of people trying to create laws and systems in place based around not facts, like he's mentioned, but around judgments and around beliefs. And that is very dangerous because if we haven't made the same agreements in life, which we haven't, around how we feel about religion and different orientations and different ways of living in this world, I don't want to live in a world based on what other people think should happen to me. I want to live in a world that it has equity and equality for all, so that it affords me the comfort to be able to be myself, not myself based on the terms and judgments of others. That's not the world I want to live in.
And I was just thinking about, I guess it was touched on a little bit, but if you are in a leadership role, you have to make judgment calls all the time, right?
Exactly.
So you want somebody who can definitely understand the situation and actually think about all the variables and not just, hold it to themselves and be like, well, you know what, I'll just let things play out, because then otherwise your company, your country, or whatever you're leading can actually be led astray because you're not actually making the judgment call. So I think that's another pro, is when you're in a leadership position, you want to actually make judgments and decisions, basically. Yeah, so exactly. There are some times when it's necessary. Here we go, yo. So what's the scenario? It's scenario time. Scenario 1. Malimu has a degree in theater arts, while his cousin in the UK dropped out in her first semester. He has struggled to land lead roles for US films, but his cousin has snagged nearly a dozen. Should Malimu tell his cousin that the only reason she lands roles is because she is British?
Oh, wow. That really went left field there. Okay. So he is feeling mad that he has pursued this opportunity in his career to act, and it doesn't seem like it's going well, versus his cousin who dropped out of the academic program is doing better than him.
And
so he feels...
And just to make it clear, it might not be clear in the scenario, the cousin has always lived in the UK. Okay. It's not like the cousin moved and then was going to school in the UK. They weren't going to the same school.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I would say that that's a judgment that he's making upon his cousin. But to your earlier points in the episode, it's not a factual statement. It's not something grounded in anything other than his own emotional sadness and frustration that he's feeling. And he has a right to be mad. In life, you have a right to your feelings and your emotions. But when we try to take our emotions and imbue them upon others to make them feel sad or mad just because we're mad, and it's like, well, you're going to be mad with me. It's not a healthy space to be in. It's not a space to promote or create or foster more positiveness in the world. So no, I don't think he should say that. And no, I don't think that that's a true statement. I think that's a false narrative that he is agreeing to in his mind so that he doesn't feel bad that potentially he may not have acting chops.
Okay. So I partially agree with you. I think he definitely should not tell his cousin this because what's the purpose? Is he trying to get a reaction out of the cousin?
Definitely.
Or it doesn't, who does it help? It doesn't do anything.
It's mean
so let's just keep that to yourself, and maybe you gotta focus on going for more roles or doing something different than you've been doing. Get a new agent. I don't know, but I don't think telling your cousin about this is going to be helpful. But now on the second point, is this a true statement? I mean, I can't say for sure, but I've been hearing more and more that a lot of these, and we've seen it where a lot of our lead roles have been taken by British actors, especially for African Americans. If we look, a lot of the lead roles, big roles, are actually from British citizens. So I don't know. I mean, it could be a true statement. I mean, it may be true that they are taken, but we don't know the reasoning. We don't know the reason or anything behind that.
But even if there is a higher preponderance of, say, African-American British actors that land leading roles in American films over it's not like they are doing it because they're British, because at the end of the day, they're not even acting with their natural accent. They're acting with an American accent. And maybe it's...
Well, we're not blaming them. I'm not playing the blames on them, but is it just Hollywood has an affinity towards the British
for people
actors
who aren't even sounding like themselves?
Yeah.
Because it'd be different if they were if Hollywood was obsessed with that accent or something.
But don't look at that. Just look at the numbers, though. If you look at all the top actors, and it's just a coincidence.
It's not about coincidence. Maybe they have better performance metrics. There are things that they're looking for in the role that is being delivered by that community. I don't think
seems odd. I don't know if that's because if you looked, even if you look at how much experience they have and all that stuff, it doesn't add up. You can look at the most experienced British actor versus the most experienced
but it's not about always
American
experience.
actor.
It's about performance, and it's also about the delivery, right? When you're putting together a piece of content or film, you're looking for certain abilities and traits, and maybe
it's not. Yeah, I don't know if that's...
but again, you would have to do some research
from what I've heard is that's not from the actors themselves. They've spoken on even Lorenz Tate has just spoken on that about he thinks that a lot of that the U.S. filmmakers are just looking towards the British for some reason. He doesn't know why, and so I think it has to be looked at more. And what's the reason? What is the reason? But is it actually happening though? I mean, it seems like it's happening, but I can't tell you at the rate.
To me, it seems very reminiscent of this narrative that puts out here of that foreigners are taking U.S. jobs. I just get very nervous around people doing the us versus they scenario, because it's also if people are coming here from different countries and taking, quote unquote, taking jobs or accepting jobs, you have to wonder, well, people can only take what's given to them or what is available to them. So if there is a lower amount of folks who are interested in doing X, Y, Z, and other people then they're going to
that's part of the reason. Sorry, that's part of the reason too. There's sometimes where the American actors don't want to try out for that role.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. I get very, very hesitant around
for slave history
versus them when, maybe Maybe there's
like
just
we're
a
not as
higher
interested in that, but the British act is like, hey, we're going to do that.
Yes.
You know, that's
They
fine with
might
us.
be more interested in that narrative. So to blame
Would
the
have to be
actor or
looked
blame
at.
that community, I think is
No,
more
never blame the
information.
actor. You never blame the actor, but do you blame Hollywood kind of thing? Do you blame filmmakers?
Well, they
do
always
you blame directors?
because that's an industry that needs
Revamping.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity for growth there.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of shakeup is needed.
Mhm.
Scenario 2. Sven follows a celebrity on social media who has the most followers. In every post where he sees what he deems as too much skin, he writes a lengthy comment as to why people need to dress more modestly in life. Should Sven close his social media account to prevent him from writing these comments? Or should he make more accounts to prove that his opinions matter?
Those are the only options in life, Will.
Those are the best options. Two of the best options he has.
That's a judgy question.
Now the
That's
question
hilarious.
itself is judgy.
That is hilarious. Everything with you is judgy.
Oh,
you live in the space of judgment.
I live in the space of
you
information.
live in the upside down.
No, I don't live there. I visited, but I don't live there. But
exactly.
I live in information zone or information space because I like information. That's
As
what
we're
I like.
doing scenarios, yeah. The irony of your foolishness.
But that's not where I don't live in the scenarios, though.
Yes,
I live
you
in the
do.
information space.
Yes, you do. Oh my goodness.
come on.
So I'm going to put out there in the world, I think that there's more than two options here in life.
Oh, okay. There's
But to
others.
address this scenario and these questions, I would say, wow, I really would struggle with this. Okay, so
Right.
I don't think you need to close your account to prevent yourself from having these comments. I think that self-regulation, there's more opportunities for self-regulation than having to disconnect from social media.
That's easier said than done, though.
There,
right?
it is
'Cause there's
easier
people
said than
that
done.
really can't help themselves.
Yeah,
and they need to be
but
blocked.
that hasn't been presented in the scenario, so that's why I don't think that should be the option here.
Oh,
Because
okay.
it's not like you're saying Sven can't go without having to put these lengthy diatribes online, like he has, like a commitment to this journey. You haven't made that clear. So, absent that, I don't think that that's the right option. And then to go and create dummy accounts and fake accounts just to kind of validate yourself
bolster
across.
his voice.
Yeah, I think that to me is a certain mindset that would think to do that, and I'm not going to make a judgment call on what that is, but I would say that.
But you made the judgment that the person doing that has a certain thing.
Yeah,
about
I think
them.
there's a certain mindset of person who would do that, though. I think that's a statement that is, it's a judgy statement for sure.
Yeah, it is.
But, I'm a work in progress. Try better than you, but.
But I'm not working on it.
Exactly. There you go. That's the difference. I'm working on it and you're living and festering in your judgment.
I'm not festering. I'm just trying to grow it as appropriate.
Yep, the upside
That's
down.
what I'm doing. No, it's like, it's growth. But good growth, not bad growth.
Expansion of judgment.
Yeah, but only in the good manner.
Gotcha. So I don't really agree with either of these options, but if these were the only options to address the scenario, I guess closing down the account so that he can't do the diatribe. But like I said, I do vehemently think that there are more options available to this fictional scenario.
What would be a alternate option?
So I think an alternative option would be maybe considering speaking with a professional in medical health.
Wow, it comes to all that.
Well, I think there's always an opportunity to speak
Man.
to a professional for mental health matters. There's always that option in life. And then also I think trying to maybe also seek mentorship or guidance around what exactly is the driving force behind this wanting to go around and kind of sit on your high horse and tell everyone what they should be wearing and what they shouldn't be doing. Because at the end of the day, if you're confident in who you are and what you're doing, why do you have to preach to others to do what you think is appropriate? You should be the example you want to see in the world. Live your truth, and people may or may not be influenced by you, but you don't need to preach and hammer that down to others. That to me is a demonstration that maybe you aren't confident in your belief system and you're trying to brainwash others to support you because you need that validation.
You just made me think of this other thing that I see on social media.
Mm-hmm.
I see it a couple times where you have an account that it's basically the account is selling sex, like the person's scantily clad and stuff.
Yeah.
But if you read their profile, it says God first. So in that scenario,
you'd love to cover those accounts.
Should people judge it, or should people be like, well, at least they put God first? I mean, what do you like? Or you just skipped it?
Is this being done ironically, or
it's never ironic? Okay. It's just the person's doing their sexual showcase, but they always put God first, just to let you know that they have religion on their side. Is it right?
Is it a real person, or is it a like?
Oh, it's a real person. Okay. No, it's a real account. Should people? I mean,
should you be allowed to judge those types?
Yeah,
of accounts?
Is it okay to judge them? And when I say judge, that doesn't necessarily mean to comment and do stuff like that. But is it okay to be like, this person's a fake believer or something? Just in your mind.
Well, again,
because I don't believe that people should comment.
Well, again, if you make the judgment, whether it's positive or negative, your behavior and your actions towards that person or that situation is going to be based off that judgment. So that's the problem of sometimes our judgment space, because we can also, like, you may see that and be offended by that and choose not to orient or spend time with that person.
Be really
but that
offensive,
person
right?
could be a fan of WokeNFree, for example. They could share it, and all you could have a whole positive.
But if that's against your moral beliefs, though, if they're doing stuff that you think are morally reprehensible, then how could
obviously
you
you're talking on behalf of some other human.
Some other me?
No, some other human. You're not speaking on your behalf.
Oh, yeah.
Of course. And you can just be clear. Reprehensible.
Yeah, morally reprehensible.
Yeah, you
because
must
people
be talking
see
about
that.
another human being.
I mean, there's certain people that they they get tied up.
So I think that, again, we as a society have a very interesting, in America, have a very interesting perspective on sexuality and then religion and how they don't conflate and sometimes how they can. And
but you're right, because
you can be a God first
twerking for Jesus, right?
Exactly.
There's
like you can love God and whatever that means to you, but then you also are okay with, maybe being more sexually explicit on OnlyFans. Yeah. Does that mean you can't love God and have sexuality? No, I don't think that's their.
But you're definitely going to be going against certain people's traditional beliefs.
There's certain people that
are not going to disagree. They're
Christianity
disagree with
or view religion in a way that it does not conflate. You cannot do both. So it's challenging. What's your answer to this, though?
So my answer to this is to definitely close the social media accounts because you need to stop writing this stuff. You're wasting time. And your comments aren't really appreciated. But I mean,
double hit with judgment. Okay.
Yeah, they don't. There's no. The only good thing you do is, I mean, you're helping perpetuate this person and what they do, because now the algorithm sees that it's getting engagement. So it's actually better if you don't do this, and maybe that person will do that less. That's the funny thing, because you're just adding extra coverage to the person. So you could close your accounts and you could read a book instead. Read a good book.
Lovely.
That's what I recommend. That's my alternative.
Read the good book, indeed.
I said read a good book,
and I added a judgment.
You said the good book, and people can argue what the good book is.
Put that in the comments.
It's arguable what the good book is. Yeah. Exactly. Scenario 3. Valerie went out with a group of friends to celebrate the newly elected official for their town. One of her friends believes in free the nipple, so she wears tight sheer tops, no bra, whenever she is in public. Should Valerie let her friend live her best life, or express that what she is doing is inappropriate?
The things that come out of your mind, Khalil. One of these days we have to do video podcasting, and so that people can see our expressions, because when you said free the nipple...
It's an important movement for feminists. Some feminists. I don't
know
if I'll agree
some
with it.
nerve.
What?
You have some nerve.
I had to state some of the more obscure parts of
your beliefs
the
about what is the leading movement within the feminist progress. Okay.
But wait, we're saying. Why do you say I'm saying any of my belief anywhere in this? Whereby saying my belief here?
No. I'm just saying you said that free the nipple is a part of the feminist movement. That's why I said that you have some nerve to speak on that.
But what does that have to do with my belief, though?
Nothing.
Okay. I'll just make it sure. Let's not mix it up.
So here, if she's her friend and she feels comfortable expressing her commentary or her beliefs around her friend's fashion choices, statement choices, then she is welcome to share that belief system. But again, all communication should be purposeful and think about the intent and as well as the harm and impact that happens. So if you know that you're a friend and you share this and you're going to hurt your friend's feelings by saying, hey, I think you should stop exposing your nipples, that may be your opinion, but are you willing to deal with the consequence of how that impacts your friendship? If so, then have at it, but just be mindful that, is there a way to be able to communicate without hurting others? I'm not sure. I'm not sure in this situation if there is or not. But I think there possibly are. But I would say that this is going to the ability to share this is really going to depend on the nature of their friendship and also like how her friend's going to receive this. Because if her friend is a person who, we can make assumptions. So if she's a fan of freeing the nipple, maybe one could deduce that she's a more forward person, a more progressive person potentially. And so maybe having more open, honest conversations potentially, maybe that would be less likely to offend her. Maybe she would be like, let's talk about it. If your nipples are out, maybe you're open to having more hard-hitting conversations. So those are all deductions. Those are not facts. It's just all conjecture.
Yeah, because that's what's interesting about liberalism. It doesn't necessarily mean that everybody has a voice. It just means that I'm open to the things that I believe are right. Correct. But if you're on a different standpoint, I might not even let you speak.
She may be I may not want to hear conservative in her belief system or how people come at her from a communication perspective, and she could be deeply offended. She may not want to hear that. She might think you're oppressive by bringing it up, right? It is oppressive. What you're trying to do to someone, it is oppressive. If you truly feel that you should have a right to share your nipples or share your breasts, and people are your own friend is coming at you and asking you to,
because how come women have to? Yeah,
men share their nipples all the time.
Women have to cover it up.
Are not allowed to. So
there's definitely some sexism at play.
Absolutely, because of people's fear of sexuality, and again, seeing the woman body creates all sorts of havoc within people's minds for some reason.
It's such a dangerous thing.
It's a dangerous proposition, really.
It's more dangerous than guns.
You get kicked off of social media platforms. It is a whole thing.
It's more dangerous than guns.
It's a hot tamale for sure.
Even though it's caused less harm, but it's an interesting thought, right?
It's wild.
The things that are banned and censored versus the things that are not.
Wild, blows my mind. So I would not be, I'm not a fan of her expressing this to her friend. I think that it's going to cause more harm for the friendship potentially. And, if you were friends with this person with this belief, then, what has changed, right? And, or if this is a new behavior, then you have to decide if it's worth your friendship. Choosing this, I can't be around your nipple situation.
Cause here's the question listen to the first part of the scenario. This is about
a more conservative celebration.
It's not a celebration where we're just
it's not like a
Mardi Gras
Pride Month or
something.
It's not
Mardi Gras where we're trying to be a little bit not necessarily dressed up, but presentable,
more conservative.
Yeah, just presentable for all age groups.
Your nipples are with you whether you cover them or not.
But do you need to see the details and through your shirt, and everybody should know what that is. That's the question.
If you feel comfortable dressed that way, why should you have to hide
in front of politicians?
Are they a different type of human being? Where there's some type of superiority that is involved here? A person is a person. So if you feel good with your nipples out, then could there be appreciative of that?
Because I gotta wonder, would there be any sort of backlash possibly if it's a small town, or will people see that and say,
"Hey, might have a stroke"?
That's the backlash.
There might actually
medical problems,
medical issues that happen from, like you said, someone actually might even light on fire. Really.
That's a possibility. You got to be careful about
people
that.
Burned for witches
spontaneous
by
combustion.
Someone just saying witch.
But that's spontaneous combustion.
Let's see the actual practice of witchcraft.
So
this country is a very interesting place around what is acceptable and is not acceptable.
Exactly. I mean, people be up in
do
arms over stuff.
Do I agree with that behavior as myself? No, I personally am not interested in exposing my nipples in
but you
more
agree
conservative space.
Oh, all right.
Or just generally.
But
that's interesting. Probably not just because I don't want to upset my son, but do I think there's a value and space to doing that? I think it could be interesting for sure. I'm not opposed to it.
You think personally, but do you even agree with that? So people should go topless in
conservative
scenarios. That would be. They should have that right. Is that what you're saying?
I think that as long as you're not hurting someone,
as long as you're not breaking the law,
hurting yourself, then you're not conflicting with regulation that you don't find too oppressive in life. Then
you added that.
I know it becomes very nuanced. It's very nuanced in life. It's a lot, and we start going down a rabbit hole.
If you agree with the law, then please follow it. If you don't, hey, hopefully you have good judgment. Hopefully you have good judgment.
Because there are laws in place that are oppressive that need to be challenged. So whether the going topless or not is a regulation that should be challenged is for a different episode.
That's so problematic, though. It's funny.
It's a very nuanced situation.
Obey the laws that are good. Disobey the ones that are bad.
Absolutely not. I would never be saying such a
No, you're not saying that. But you're saying, but I mean, all right, we dress it up. Go for the laws that are for your freedom. Don't go for the oppressive laws.
If there are laws that are oppressive, you should be an advocate for identifying the change and opportunity for change there, is what I'm saying. Because obviously, I am an advocate of compliance for law and regulation in society. I'm a lawyer. I'm a Virgo. I love law and order and regulation for sure. But we have to know in our society, we've seen it time and time again, that there are laws that have not always worked well for all of us.
And don't some laws need to change depending on how society changes too?
As our society changes, there are going to be opportunities where you might have to break a law because there is you're trying to protest, you're trying to develop change and change the narrative. So, but in this scenario, I haven't thought about freeing the nipple and the laws around that premise. So I'd have to really mull that over a little bit. I'm fascinated by it, like I said, because I'm fascinated by nude beaches and stuff like that. And having more spaces for nudity, I don't think is a bad thing. I know that some folks that could be problematic for them, but for me, I'm intrigued. I'd like to think through that a little bit more. So in this space, don't tell your friend you're going to hurt your friend's feelings. Just don't go to the event with her or ask
don't even go. Oh man, you can't celebrate now.
I mean, if you're going to be so offended or you're going to act in a way that's going to hurt your friendship, just don't go to them. Yeah.
Wow. So, I mean, in this case, I think it'd be a good idea just to state there, the reason that we're celebrating is a very official one, right? It's that we're not just going out to get drinks.
That's the only way your nipple can be free?
Yeah, you gotta talk to them. Should your nipple be free when this congressman, we have this new congressperson, what if we see them out? Do you want them to be ogling your nipples? I mean,
ogling your nipples?
You gotta have a heart-to-heart with them and say, is that what you want them to first see?
This is how so preposterous this is.
But it's
having a conversation about nipples.
Yeah, but it's a true thing you have to think about. Is this the appropriate time for it? So
human beings refuse to just live life. There's so many fish to fry in the world than talking about nipples.
What I would want I would want equality for all. That would be nice. But in this current day and age, I think you would need to talk to the friend, because what if that congressman says, you know what? I saw the nipple. I'm not fixing any potholes in your neighborhood. What if that happens? It's a small town.
Well, then that is a politician
backlash
that needs to then.
You're gonna have pothole gate if you do this thing. You got to be careful.
Red line districting is going to
exactly. What if they redistrict your map where your vote doesn't really count? So all these things that happen because the nipple was free. Yeah, it's a possibility. I'm just saying.
You're demonstrating your conservatism.
No, I don't agree with that. I think that you should be able to go topless anywhere. But
I bet you do. I bet you're a fan of that policy.
Yeah, just because you can cool off easier. It's easier for everybody because it's hot.
It is easier for everyone.
I mean, if you're in Alaska, you might not need to, but if you're in just the southern states,
let freedom ring.
That's why I say you should have the ability to do it. If you want to freeze off and be an ice cube, you can. But
that's your business.
Yeah, you can do that. But I think you need that opportunity, especially in the southern states that people reside in. I think you need that. So it would be good for all. But in this case, I think she should just talk to the friend because people they're not about that, and it's going to have negative repercussions. It could.
All right.
So but it's not me being conservative though. That's what I'm trying to argue.
You're for the nipples, yes, understood.
It's not about the nipples. I'm for equality when it comes to when our bodies should be equal. Everybody should be.
I hope you feel that for top and bottom.
I didn't say free no bottoms now. Bottoms need to be, because those are different. Those parts have different things going on. Okay. Top parts are better because there's not so much activity.
That's where you draw your judgment line.
Yeah, because the other bits is better to keep together.
The other bits.
Keep all the stuff.
Keep your bits.
Keep all the aromas and pheromones to yourself.
Here you go. Okay.
I'm just saying.
Keep it to yourself again. Yeah.
It's good to let that fester on one's body and not in the
fester.
And not in the atmosphere.
There's a lot of different products that people can use.
So now we have to do this just to get. Let's see how you got to do all that extra stuff.
You don't have to. You can live your truth, and it's a different world.
I mean, are we now at the zoo? Is this what it's come to?
You're so messed up.
Because we can, but humans are animals, right?
Are so
humans are animals, so if you're not going to use products,
we are at that time again. I'm calling this a quit.
You're gonna have to call it down.
Yeah, we are coming to the end of our 296th episode of WokeNFree. You are disturbed. This episode was quite interesting, discussing should we judge others. Now, folks, what do folks need to do, Khalil?
Come back next week for the new WokeNFree Wednesday episode. Make sure you follow us on social media to follow along in the conversation, and make sure you tune in next week for WokeNFree Wednesday to join the conversation at WokeNFree.com.
If you'd like to share your story or submit a topic idea, definitely get in touch with us on our Contact Us page at WokeNFree.com. That's WokenFree.com. And for social media, again, feel free to hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Pinterest, and LinkedIn at WokenFree. And all sponsorship and collaboration queries, hit us up on our Contact Us page at WokenFree.com.
If you didn't already subscribe, please do share the episode and make sure you come back to join the conversation every Wednesday for WokenFree Wednesdays. Remember, WokenFree is more than a podcast. It is a way of life. Until next time.